Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in, because it's time for a package from China. It's time for the X game, the fake Xboxes from China. Yeah, I picked this up on AliExpress a very long time ago, and I can say these were quite interesting, and not of the capabilities when it comes to emulation, no, because up front, I'm just going to say it, it's pretty shitty. But nevertheless, we have reviewed those and just want to do a quick revisiting. How are they now in 2021? Welcome to the Wicked Gamer and Collector. It's awesome that you're tuning in. Okay, so the fake Xbox from AliExpress, and maybe you can even find it on Wish. They also call it the X Game and the X Game Pro. The X Game normal version that you can see over here is the color white with translucent controllers. And the Pro version comes with a black box and black controllers. Yeah, and I can tell you, the controllers, like always, they are freaking shitty. And the Pro version came with 800 games and even support for PlayStation 1. But that's something I need to tell you about. Let's do a quick chat about the Datafrog Hdmi. It doesn't even matter which version you're going to buy or what brand, because in the end you're also going to get the same freaking fake Xbox, including 2 translucent controllers. But what I find quite interesting is the way how they packed it up. There are some different boxes. This one just has more like a styrofoam packaging and with a sleeve over it. Quite interesting way of design. So here you can see the waving controllers. It comes with an EV out cable, and man, look at those people. It's one like this guy, not the other one, but the middle one is taking a shit, and the other one just laughing about it. Okay, well, at the back we're going to get the HDMI output and the AV out output, input 12 volt, and we have here an SD card that holds some of the games or most of the games. Nevertheless, it seems to be that we can add some games to this device. So when we booted up the system itself, it came with a very strange X Game logo at the beginning in combination with a Windows XP sound. Yeah, Windows 98, kind of interesting to hear that after all those years. But another thing is that the menu, it looks kind of stylish in some way. It's not really bad. I have seen some shitty menus, but this thing is not that bad. Support for different systems, like the stuff we can basically play with and buy. But that was not the really interesting part about this system. But the menu itself, what you can see that we're having just basically the ROM files in combination with a tiny picture, and I can say they also messed that one up, because sometimes you're just going to get a picture that doesn't even belong with the game, or there is no picture whatsoever. So that's quite lazy if you ask me. But when it comes to emulation on this machine, it's just a mixed bag. The arcade stuff, I don't know what it was with it. It didn't run that bad, in my opinion. But when you're looking at the 8-bit and the 60-bit stuff, there was always something that messed up. If it was more like an audio problem or it was like an FPS problem, there was always something that was not working like it should be. And a little bit of bummer, and you can see some graphical glitches at the bottom part. So the emulation was just, in my opinion, a freaking nightmare on these X Game 601 systems. And in the end, it was just basically a waste of money. What I do find very fascinating with the system, that we have a quick load, quick save option, and that was something we didn't have with many of these Chinese systems. But yeah, who cares? The games run like shit. So at the beginning they ripped off the Xbox One, and it doesn't really look like an Xbox One when you're putting them side by side, I can tell you that, but man oh man, they messed it up in so many ways. And this thing was more like a piece of plastic with a tiny PCB inside. But okay, so we're having the Xbox Classic or the Xbox 601 X Game. Doesn't even matter how you want to call this thing. It was just really horrible in my opinion. I did like the controllers because they are translucent. They were not super bad like our common shitty controllers from China or the PlayStation 2 ripoffs. So Datafrog did a very nice job with the controllers. And again, don't get me wrong, they're not similar like the PlayStation 2 original controllers. But okay, so the Chinese released the X Game Pro Edition. How is that going to be? So the controllers were even more horrible than they already were. So yeah, seriously. So with the Pro we got even more shittier controls. But how was the system itself? So when you're going to put them side by side, you can see they're just reusing the case. Seriously, it's just the same case, only this one is completely black and the other one was more like a black and white combination. And the back, exactly the same story, same connections, HDMI, AV out. By the way, the AV out is really horrible, and the input 12 volt. And we're also having TF card, so we basically can be naughty and add some games if you want to. So that's kind of the China way, I'm guessing, for making a Pro Edition. It's exactly the same, or is it not? So okay, the Pro itself came in a very nice box this time. So they did improve something. They're going to get this very cheap, cables, adapter, HDMI cable, everything is included for the money. Yep, how is possible? Going to get this very strange barrel jack USB connection. And we have, of course, the toilet paper manual, like always. That makes really no sense whatsoever. So I'm not a big fan of the fake PlayStation 2 controls from China in general. But this thing was even more horrible. It looked more like the Beefcake / Frankenstein edition. It lays not bad in the hands, to be honest. But this thing feels so freaking awful. It's just... the D-pad is the most shittiest D-pad I've ever felt on the PlayStation 2. How can you mess it up? Yep, you can mess it up big time. So the controllers, something that you don't want to play on. But okay, so how is it with the emulation? Yeah, it is nothing better than the previous model. What I did notice, so besides we can play a GBA game on a gigantic display, that will not improve the digital image. But some weird things going on, like the aspect ratio is weird, or the images look a little bit more like polished, more like this pixel filter, or it's not like it should be in my opinion. So when you're looking at emulation of the really old school stuff, it was all more like a mixed bag, horrible audio, frame skip, screen tearing, you name it, all the normal issues that we can having with the system, and not even start about the Megadrive. That was freaking horrible. So yeah, when it comes to emulation, no, that was not the way how you want to play your old school games. So they did manage not to screw up the 8-bit stuff, but when it comes to the PlayStation 1, there was also a big surprise that some of these games were not running really bad. But so far I know there is no way of adding a PlayStation 1 game to this, because I did try everything, but there was no way of adding them. It doesn't get the system to boot up the PlayStation 1 games. So the X-Game Pro 801, I can tell you, this thing was just a big failure in my opinion, and it was one horrible experience when it comes to playing some retro games on a Chinese console. But when you take a close look at the inside, you can see a lot of similarities, including the casing itself. The molds are exactly the same, but only the PCBs inside are different, from the USB port up to the main board, and of course the signal output, the board that controls the HDMI input, the AV output, or the input for the power supply. So there we're going to get some differences, but there is nothing pro about it in my opinion. Both of them are running on a Linux kind of version, and yeah, adding games is just a freaking nightmare. Some of the games are installed on the chip itself, cannot be removed or cannot be modified. I did some tutorials back in the day, but it is just one freaking nightmare with these X-Game systems. Another quick difference is the menu itself. What you can see that we're having quite some different options now with the second menu. And there's where we're going to get the biggest difference. Maybe the support of the kind of games you can play in combination the way some games running. Fun fact is that the old stuff like the 8-bit stuff arcade is running decent enough to enjoy. But when you're going to get some games like Game Boy Advance, or not even start about it, because we're having a lot of sound issues and problems with these emulators. Okay guys, so there you have it, the X-Game systems in 2021. Yeah, nowadays we're having so more and better options, and those are not even perfect and flawed in many ways, but this is something you just need to avoid big time. The X-Game Pro are freaking outdated, and the emulation is pretty choppy, and this thing comes with so many problems. And I know for a fact, if you're going to pick one up, these systems have not been improved. They are exactly the same, maybe some in a different box, but the console itself, the controllers will be the same all the freaking time. Nevertheless, I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become one of the Wicked family, and give this video a like. And I will see you in the next video.